now. We're joined in the studio by Maude, who's a media researcher at Enders Analysis. So let's start with the court session today. The two Larrys are meeting up. Negotiations are ongoing. Talks, as you were telling me, not too productive. What are the expectations for the session today?
Well, I think it's unclear whether or not they're going to be able to reach agreement, and my guess is that at some point the judge is going to step in and suggest some sort of route forward. As you say, the deal is going to be somewhere between 100 million and $6 billion, and it's likely to end up somewhere in the middle, but we're not quite sure where.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Because somewhere in the middle it could almost be at...
it's quite a broad range.
I mean, they're very far apart, aren't they? What are we hearing in terms of the legitimacy or the credibility of a $6 billion request on Oracle's part?
I think it's pretty unlikely. The judge has already said that that's based on the total value of the Android operating system, so it's very unlikely to be as high as that. On the other hand, it's going to be more than the 100 million, which Google has suggested is appropriate based on the licensing fee it was originally discussing with Oracle. But who knows where it's going to end up.
Ian, what is the significance of Oracle's suit in the broader sense for Google software compared to, say, the software challenges that are coming from Apple?
Well, it's more significant. Clearly, it's potentially a $6 billion lawsuit. So, in that context, it's it's a much more significant event right now.
Yeah, this is actually something that
it's
much more serious. And you were saying that actually the bigger issues, the bigger challenges for Google going forward is revenue growth.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just tell me a little bit more about your concerns.
Well, Google's now a $30 billion a year turnover company, and obviously once you get to that size, it's much harder to grow at the kind of stellar growth rates that Google's managed in the past. So now we're talking about sort of 15–20% revenue growth per annum, rather than the sort of 100% plus which they've delivered in previous years. So going forward, it's much more about what Google's going to do to try and sustain and maintain its growth.
And how difficult is that going to be at a time where regulators seem to be clamping down? They want to get a handle on Google's reach out there. How is that going to limit or restrict Google's growth in various industries, various sectors?
Well, it certainly doesn't help. For one thing, it's a distraction for management when they really need to be focusing on growing the business. But it's the price of being successful. Once you get to Google's size and you're as dominant as Google is in, say, search, then you're going to get much more attention from the regulators.
So where do the opportunities lie for Google then going forward?
Well, certainly mobile. Mobile is a huge opportunity. The number of people that are using smartphones is going to grow very rapidly over the next few years, and the revenues associated with that from advertising, from e-commerce, etc., are also going to grow very, very quickly. So that's going to be very much the focus going forward, I think.
All right. Thanks very much, and you for joining us, Maude, media researcher at Enders Analysis.